There is a lot of hype around prompt engineering recently. Big tech companies release and promote their courses about it. Just for the last couple of days, I got few emails from Google, AWS and Coursera offering me to enroll for their courses about prompt engineering. But I'll tell you the truth, you don't need to spend your time and money for fancy prompt engineering courses. There are just 7 rules for a good prompt, and you can learn them for 10 minutes just watching this video. So let's start. And the first rule, be specific and clear. The more detailed and specific is your prompt, the better the results. So clearly define the task, the desired format of output, tone and constraints. And let's take a look at the examples. So the example of the bad prompt, create a login form for a website. And the good one, create a React component for a login form. It should have 2 text inputs for an email and password, and it should have a forgot password link. Use TypeScript and CSS in JS. Use React Hook Form library. And you can see the massive difference between the result. And the second rule, use context. If your task is complex, provide as much background information as possible to guide the AI model response. And let's take a look at a bad and a good example of this rule. And the bad one, review this code. And the good would be, this is the TypeScript code that implements a user authentication feature. It should validate the user's email and password, handle errors gracefully, and return a JWT token upon successful login. It must also be covered with unit tests to ensure proper functionality. And the third rule is use step-by-step instructions. Again, if you have a complex task that consists of multiple steps, then break down your request into steps or phases just to help the model understand what exactly do you want. And let's look at the examples again. And the bad one, help me automate my emails. And good would be, write a Python script using the SMTP library to automate sending emails. The script should, first, connect to an SMTP server using credentials. Second, read email addresses and messages from a CSV file. And third, send personalized emails and log the status of each sent email. In this case, the LLM will clearly understand what do you want and return you a response that you would expect. And the fourth rule is iterate and refine. If you have a complex request, then AI models unlikely will return you the right response from the first try. Use different structures and phrases in your prompt to achieve the optimal result. Iterate on the results and ask LLMs to change what you need. Remember, feedback loop is a key here. So let's take the prompt from our first example and try to refine it.
I took the prompt from the first example that on its own already detailed enough, and let's try to iterate through the result and see what we can improve. So it created a component with everything we asked for, but there is probably something that is missing. For example, here on the email field, we could add some verification on the client instead of adding it on the backend, just to give user an earlier feedback that something is wrong with his email. So let's try to ask ChatGPT about it. And you see that it used the built-in feature of React Hook library, React Hook Forms library, and it added this regular expression to check for the valid emails. And what else can we do here? For example, here we have only a console log in this onSubmit handler. So we can ask it to save the token that was returned from successful login to our browser's cookie. And now you can see it added the code here for the hitting the API URL. You can change it to whatever you want, and saving the auth token to our cookie. Of course, this is not a production code. You need to change it in order to match your API, but in general, it looks good. You can continue iterate on your form component, login form component, to get what you want.
And the fifth rule is to use examples. Some things are hard to describe with words, and it's much easier just to use an example to show the AI model what exactly you want to achieve. So the bad prompt would be: create a JSON for a quiz about geography. And the good prompt in this case would be: create a JSON for a multiple choice quiz system. Each question should have a following structure: a unique ID, a question, an array of options, a category, and an optional explanation. Here is an example of the structure for 2 questions. And the sixth rule is to incorporate the roles. Assign a role to AI model to anchor the response to the certain perspective. So the bad prompt would be: explain me how to set up PostgreSDB. And the good prompt could look like this: you are a senior database administrator. Explain to a junior software developer how to set up and use PostgreSQL for a web application. And the last but not least, use chain of thoughts prompting technique. The key of this technique is to encourage LLM to break down complex problems in a small, manageable chunks. The core idea here is to add a phrase, let's think step by step, or reason step by step, to a prompt. This simple addition changes how LLM approaches the problem. Instead of trying to directly get the correct answer, the model will try to go through steps of the reasoning process, and it will be visible to the user. This leads to the more accurate results and provides the explanation how and why the model reached these conclusions. And to illustrate this chain of thoughts technique, I will use relatively complicated lead code problem, and I will ask the model solve it step by step. And let's see if this will work.
Solve this problem. It has acceptance rate just 17.5. And first, let's just copy the task and let's go to ChatGPT, and notice I selected the model with advanced reasoning. And first, I'm just going to throw it as it is with the task: solve this problem in TypeScript. And let's see if it manages. And it has a lot of maths here. This is the final implementation, and we are going to try it. Just rename the function, and let's first run the tests. It works, it accepted, but let's try to submit it and see how it is with performance. And now it says wrong answer, even though tests passed. Now let's try our chain of thoughts technique, and let's change the prompt slightly. Let's add this think step by step, and let's see if it's gonna help. And now this took 57 seconds to think about it and reason it, and it made some analysis, observations, math functions. Yeah, this technique works really well with some math stuff. So let's try and copy this final code. Heap-based feasible pairing. Oh my god, I don't even know what does it mean. And we need to rename this function. It's even used the class, so let's run it and see if it works at all. Okay, yeah, we don't need the export. Let's run it again. Yeah, tests are passed, that's a good sign. Now let's submit and see if the full test suite will pass. Okay, so it doesn't quite work. What we can do here is just to try again, why not? I suck at math, so I'm just going to copy paste the code. Yeah, I will need to rename the function, I guess. Yeah. these 3 test cases passed, and let's see now if all these 600 will pass. I really hope so. But unfortunately this is still a wrong answer. But I think it is pretty close, and what we can do, and what we are going to do is to add another test case. And ask it to try again. Okay, so we've got another code for this stuff, and we can try again. Just rename the function, run it. It worked, and now let's submit. And now it works and even beats 100% of solutions. So that's a success, and you can see how chain of thoughts prompt technique together with a couple of iterations helped us to solve this problem. And just clarify, I don't want you to go to LeetCode and solve problems with ChatGPT there. This is not the purpose. This is just the illustration of the prompt technique and how it can work. So anyway.
So that's it for today. These are 7 prompting techniques that I use in my day-to-day work, and I hope they will be also useful for you. Let me know if it was useful for you and if you managed to achieve good results with these techniques. And if you have any life hacks how to write a good prompts, please let me know in the comments below the video. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you.